Get ready for the revolution. No, they'll never bring us down.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Bomi Joseph, and we have a product called Immunag, and it's an extract from a plant called the Humulus crea plant, and it's the closest family to the cannabis. So they're both the Cannabaceae family. And we got a tip-off actually from a study in India a long time ago, about 22 years ago, that showed trace amounts of cannabinoids in a plant that was planted by a British guy called John Sullivan in a place called Ooty. So we knew that India did not have any normal natural humulus that's here in the US and western the world. So we went and started investigating, and we found that the native feral humulus that was in the old Ayurvedic scriptures was a species called Humulus yunanensis, and primarily found in the Silk Road region in the borders of India and China. And the problem that we have today is that almost all the humulus that's available in in Europe and the US is tissue cultured Humulus lupulin or lupulus, which is optimized for beer production and beer flavor. And it's not feral, it's asexual, and it's tissue cultured test tube clones. And so in order to find something native, we actually had to go to the wilderness. And so there's not much in China because most of it is industrialized, but the Indo-China region is still pretty remote and wild. So it was a long hunt, and we found quite a few samples, but most of the samples did not have cannabinoids, and only some of them did. So then we discovered that it was actually a recessive trait. But once we found the samples, we were able to interbreed and crossbreed them and do the normal stuff to increase the concentration. And the extract that comes out of it is actually quite fragrant. It's got a lot of hops flavor. It doesn't really have any of the odors or flavors that's normally associated with marijuana. It's more like beer. And when we strip out the terpenes and the more volatile compounds, the heavier compounds that are left essentially are cannabidiol, the beta-caryophyllene, and humulene, and that complex is what we call Immunag.
Very interesting. So it seems that you've stumbled across something that not many people here are talking about.
Well, I mean, I find it unfortunate that the word cannabidiol has canna in it, right? So and even the endocannabinoid system, I don't know why it's called the cannabinoid system, right? Because it was obviously first discovered because of THC. But there's nothing cannabis about it. It has thousands of receptors. It has a whole bunch of ligands that interact with it. And most plant molecules interact with our so-called endocannabinoid system. It's an unfortunate choice of words. And it's kind of interesting. Most people in the cannabis world or the hemp world, they associate us with a non-cannabis source. But a lot of people who know me Google me and now see that I'm doing something with cannabidiol, and I get calls from friends of mine who basically say, hey, when did you get in the weed business, right? Because they just associate cannabidiol with cannabis. So it's a very unfortunate choice of words, actually. So that sort of puts all these terpenes and all these products that are from any cannabis plant lumped in with cannabis, but a lot of the terpenes are found in orange. A lot of the terpenes in humulus is very similar to the terpenes in cannabis. So the whole thing is tainted by the word canna. So just because it's cannabidiol doesn't mean it's only from the cannabis plant. It's available in other, it may not be commercially feasible. It may be just in such small quantities that it's not worth the money or the price to extract it. But that's not the point. The point is that these molecules are available in other species.
Get ready for the revolution.